All right. Hello, everybody. It is Coach Talon, your coach of the Atlanta Brave Aries, bringing to you the draft analysis for INT Season 2. I was invited to this league by my BraddahKahuutz. It's his league. There are a bunch of cool people in here. We got like Q, the Costa Rican. We got JV. We got Mario B. Just a bunch of cool people, bunch of homies. I'm really excited for this league. And yeah, so we had second pick of the overall draft. We had 120 points to spend over like tiers ranging from like 18 to 1. And so I think we got a pretty solid draft. So I'm really excited to use this team. So let me introduce to you who we got. So pick number 1, we picked up Zeraora. Zeraora is a pretty good Pokemon in my opinion. Very fast mon, can outspeed pretty much every mon in the game that isn't like scarfed or anything. Like base speed, outspeeding everything in the game. It's a very powerful physical attacker. It can even hit on the special side if you really want to run that way. You can. There's nothing saying you can't, because it can run that way. It does have the moves too, and the special attack stat to back it up for that. So it's a really good Pokemon. Really excited to use it. Don't think I've ever used it before. I try to make it apparent that I wanted to use mons that I haven't really used before. There are a couple that I have, but I wanted to try something new. So we picked up Zeraora. I'm really excited to use it. So pick number 2, we picked up Latias. Again, pretty fast Pokemon, pretty good offensively, pretty good defensively. Has a lot of setup sets, had lots of just like physical offense, go, and attack sets as well. So I'm really excited to use this mon. Yeah, so I mean, like I said, it's a mon I've never used. It's pretty fast. Does a lot of damage, has a lot of coverage as well with like Energy Ball. I think it could Surf, like Thunderbolt, maybe Mystical Fire, not too sure on that one, but you know, it gets a lot of coverage and can really deal with the things that want to come in with its sets. So moving into pick number 3, we picked up Slowbro, a very defensive mon. Not a lot of things are OHKOing this, if anything can OHKO this, like at full Fizz Def or whatever. Maybe you can OHKO it with a special attack, because I mean a special attack stat isn't usually the one that or a special defense stat isn't usually the one that's like invested in, but if it is, then you better be scared, because this thing is going to be taking hits like an absolute tank. It can burn things with Scald, it gets access to Toxic, Teleport. Having that slow pivot out is always great, especially if you want to get something in very safely. Teleport's always a move with Slowbro. To do so. So really excited to use this mon. I have used this one before back in UPA. I used it pretty well in my opinion. But yeah, so I'm really excited to pick this mon up again. Very defensive. Maybe we can get a little crazy and run an offensive Slowbro one day if I'm really feeling it. If my differential and my win to loss ratio is that low and is that bad that I'm not making playoffs, we might do some crazy stuff. You never know. So moving into pick 4. He picked up Nihilego. Originally, I don't remember who I was gonna pick, but I know it wasn't Nihilego. But I know it got taken before before I got to my pick. So we ended up picking up Nihilego. Again, a Pokemon I never used for. I believe it gets access to both Stealth Rocks and Toxic Spikes, so it can be a hazard setter. It's a poison type, right? It's a poison type, rock poison. I'm not too sure, but it's a poison type. So we're gonna say it's a rock poison type. So Toxic Star is landing. It gets access to some very powerful special attacking moves. Thankfully, its special attack stat is so high that it can actually utilize those stuff. So I'm really excited to use it. Very offensive. Another fast Pokemon of mine. I have seen it run pretty defensively as well in some scenarios. Like I said, with the hazard setting and things like that, being able to land Toxics 100% of the time is actually perfect. So really excited to use that. Moving into pick number 5. We have a mon that I've been wanting to use for a good while. We have Crocodile. To put it simply, this mon is fat. It will hurt you like hell if it's running an offensive set. It can run a defensive set. Hell, it can even run a special defensive set if you just throw on an Assault Vest, and it can hurt like hell as well, because it has a pretty good what is it called? Attack stat. No, not pretty good. A really good attack stat. Like, it gets access to things like Knockoff. It gets access to coverage with Stone Edge, Earthquake, things like that. I believe it gets some pretty decent coverage. I know it gets Stealth Rocks, probably gets Toxic considering it's Generation 8. So yeah, its stats all around are pretty good. It has a middling speed tier, so it's not super fast, not super slow. We'll be outspeeding some things, we'll be underspeeding some things. Can run a choice scarf and be perfectly fine. You know, things like that. So I'm really excited to use this mon. Never used it before. And yeah, so moving into pick number 6, we picked up Salazzle. Again, another mon that I have used before. Very fast. Sub Protect Toxic is so good if I can use it correctly, because we all know that I'm not the greatest when it comes to using some popular sets. I can never find when and when not to get it in, but if I can get it up, then it'll be perfect. Sub nasty plant in general, choice specs, hey, maybe even a choice scarf on this mon are all perfect. Being able to land those 100% toxics like with Nihilego is gonna be really good for us, especially with its ability. Even the steel types can get toxic, even poison types can get toxic, so it's just looking good for us with Salazzle. Moving into pick number 7, we have Delmise, again another mon I use. I was planning on getting Serena, but I couldn't because it got taken from me, so I wanted a grass type that would be able to spin, and so I did end up picking Delmise. It's also a spin blocker, a really defensive mon, has access to things like Synthesis, Toxic, like I said, Rapid Spin. Good assault vest mon, could be a pretty offensive mon if you really want to get that crazy. Has a really good attack stat, gets access to good physical moves like Poltergeist, Power Whip, Anchor Shot, etc. You know, so I'm really excited to use this mon. It's a mon that I can rely on to just be there and wall certain things. So I'm really excited to use this one again, and I think it does fit pretty well within our team. So yeah. Moving into pick number 8, we picked up a Escavalier, the original mascot. This mon is a very defensive mon. Can run assault vest, can run just leftovers, be fat, just sit in front of things like nobody's business. It's a mon that I have picked up before, but I didn't get to use it super well. I picked it up in UPA Season 2, I believe, before I dropped from that. But we're here now. We get to use it to its full ability. I will be using this mon. It's very fat on both sides. It's very physically and especially defensive. So if I need it to fluctuate between Fizz Death and special defense depending on my matchups, then it definitely can be. It's the one mon that I know that can. It gets access to knockoff. I thought it got access to spikes, but it doesn't. I think it really should. I believe it gets access to toxic considering it's generation 8. You know, it gets access to like stab moves like Iron Head and things like that, so you know, we can utilize those as well. Moving in to pick number 9, we picked up Aromatisse. It's just fat, and I needed a fairy type, and I wanted a little budget fairy type. There were some other options that I was considering, but overall, I thought Aromatisse was the best, considering, you know, Aromatisse has been a staple in draft leagues before. It has walled so many of the big threats in draft leagues, so I'm really excited to use this mon. Hopefully, I can use it to its best ability. It gets like healer, so at every turn, 30% chance to heal a status from one of your like Pokemon. If your Pokemon are status, so that's really good for us. Gets access to Toxic, gets access to like Wish Protect, Moonblast, things like that. So I'm really excited to use this. Moving into our last pick, we picked up Frostlass because Frostlass is a good hazard setter. It's a good lead. It can be offensive on both physical and special side. It's very fast, and that's really all there is to it. I needed a final Pokemon because I had 8 points left, and I didn't want to just leave it there. So I decided to pick up Frostlass, and maybe we can do some things with it. And that's going to be my draft for the INT. Pretty simple. I will let the mon speak for themselves. You know, these are pretty good mon, always seen on drafts in the draft league scene, used to really well ability. So hopefully I can follow up with that and be able to do that for them as well. So with that being said, I'm going to get up and out of here. My week 1 will be going up next week on Wednesday. I know that this is a little bit late, and that is my apologies. But week 1 will be going up on Wednesday. We are facing CB Marcus. Really good. Well, I'm not a really good friend of mine. I don't know him that well, but he's a homie to a couple of the people I know, so he must be a good guy. The links to everyone will be down in the description below. And yeah, I'm excited to get into this league. I'm glad to be back. I'm Coach Town, Coach Atlanta Braviaries. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.